everyone, I am back, and I am here this week with some Pebeo. I've used a couple of these colors before, but never in like the main amounts and never really to great effect. It was mostly just backgrounds or just little touches here and there. So I went out and I got a full 10 pack, I think it's 10. Yeah, 10 colors. Put all of them on my palette and basically painted until they were dry. So how about you join me and watch as I go through this. Let's go. All right, welcome back to this thing that I'm doing, everyone. I am finally, my vacation is over, I am back in the seat, ready to paint up a storm. And to start today, we have this beautiful 11 by 14 canvas panel. Michael's, I think, if anyone's interested. It's not really important where I got it. The quality is the same at just about any place that you go if you're buying at the lowest level, like I am. And of course, like I have said before, when you're just starting out, lower level stuff is fine. You're gonna grow out of it a lot faster than if you had, you know, like good materials, but just using like wind tins and just using Michael's canvases and brushes, and that's all gonna be fine when you're just starting. Now, obviously, you're going to grow out of them a lot faster than if you had bought the good stuff right away, but there's also the aspect of spending money on a hobby that you may or may not be keeping. I've gone through a lot of different art supplies, you know, and it's just, it doesn't make sense to buy Copics when Ohuhu's right there, and you just want to see how it works out. Speaking of saving money and possibly appearing like a hypocrite in front of all tens of my fans, I don't know if you keep up with Arteza, but they've recently released a oil pastel, a 60-piece set of oil pastels. I want to try them. The problem, though, is that they only ship them through their store in the US. They haven't introduced them to their Amazon store yet, so it would be a little difficult to get a hold on them. So that's probably going to happen in the next 6 months or so. Once they finally introduce them to Amazon, I'll pick them up and we'll see if they are just as disappointing as their watercolor pencils. I'm inclined to forgive oil pastels quite a bit faster than... No, I'm not. That's a lie. That's a bald-faced lie. I am very sorry. I don't know where all that dishonesty came from, but you can be rest assured that I'm going to do it again very soon. But, of course, to talk about the actual painting at hand, you know, might want to do that every once in a while. This is not just me talking into a mic for 10 minutes. I'm actually trying to accomplish something here. So talking about the paint, I am using PebeOHYEAH XL. This is Pebeo's, actually I don't know if they have a high-end brand, but this is their like wind tin equivalence. It's like student slash hobbyist oil painter. They're not gonna get you very far in the grand scheme of things, but they're good for learning how to paint, learning how to do. They behave pretty well. They're a little bit stickier than wind tins. I've noticed the pick and paint off of the palette. It seems that the paint peaks perfectly. It looks like a little ice cream cone, folks. In addition to that, one of the things that I quite like about oil paints is that you can put the palette down and the paint will still be wet when you pick it up the next day. This is not the only painting that I did this weekend. I also did a little chick that I don't really like the looks of. I didn't quite finish it, so it's not going to be part of this video, but the paint was starting to dry in a way that is quite different from how the wind tins usually dry. Like, the wind tins, they usually form first they get a little thick and then they form a little bit of a crust, but if you break into the crust, it's still going to be okay. These PebeOHYEAH XLs, I gotta come up with a nicer name for them than PebeOHYEAH XLs. These extra large boys were almost drying in clumps. I noticed when I was painting the little ducky, they were kind of like little boogers. There were little boogers in the paint. It was very strange. Personally, I haven't used them often enough to know if this is a regular thing or if I use them, like I mix too much medium, but that, like, I'm not exactly sure what would cause booger drying. So if anyone can mention in the comments why I might be finding that would be really cool. But anyway, so the price. This price was pretty cheap. A 10 pack of 20 mil tubes ran me about 30 bucks Canadian. You know, you do the math. It's actually quite a bit of paint for what you're paying for. Lots of different colors. Not too many different colors. It was mostly like the basics. One sec, I'm gonna grab it and then I'm gonna tell you what's in it. All right, so they have Titanium white, primary cadmium yellow hue. It kind of looks a little bit like a cadmium lemon. They have a cadmium lemon deep hue, which is like an orangey cadmium. It's just regular cadmium yellow deep hue. Cadmium light red hue, magenta, primary phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, sap green, burnt umber, and ivory black. So you're getting your money's worth. This is, I mean, it doesn't have like any Mars colors. No like Lizard Crimson or Yellow Ochre or anything like that you might want if you're doing normal colors for a normal person that a normal person would do. But you can mix most of the colors that you need. You can see me kind of playing around with the colors, getting a little creative with it. And this set got me where I needed to go. Sometimes it took a little bit of time, but it got me going. So far as what passes for a beginner set these days, this is a pretty good one. Obviously it's not going to be as cheap as like, I don't know, your typical Michael set or any sort of set that you'd find just laying around on, say, a shelf at Desserts that you might be intrigued at and want to make a video about later. And it's going to be better than that generally. I don't think that they're quite the same quality as the Wintons, but if they're cheaper than the Wintons, then I think that it equals out. It's like the situation with Georgian paints. Dollar Rowney Georgian paints, they come in 75 ml tubes, I believe, and you can get them for a little bit more, maybe 10%, 20% more than Winton oil paints. If you're looking for quantity over quality, something like that's going to get you going really far. And if you have a better price for Pebeo than Winton's, I'm not entirely sure where in the world that would be, but consider it. I would say that if the situation is that they are significantly cheaper than the Wintons, I would go with the Pebeo. Now, the best starter set that I have heard things about, Winton's very common. People don't like to, you like to badmouth the front runners, basically. So I don't know how much stock I put into necessarily the poor aspects of Winton's. I don't have enough experience with oil paints to be able to be like definitive about what makes a good and what makes a bad oil paint. It's not like pencil crayons or pastels or something where I actually have a year or two of experience behind what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that I want to get my hands on a beginner set for Gamblin 1980. That is the set that my particular boss recommends for starting set. I mean, she recommends that you start with the good stuff. She is a fine connoisseur of art, and she likes the products to have an inherent quality to them that I think that when you're starting out, maybe you don't need this super high-end oil paint. You don't need this super high-end pencil crayon. You need more than like what Staedtler can give you for pencil crayons, but you don't need Caran d'Ache luminance or polychromos or anything when you're just starting out. I got along pretty fine with my set of Crayola for the first 6 months. So there you have it. So there's my boy, 11 by 14 canvas board, nice and pretty. So that was this week. I still haven't decided for next week, but I got one of two different ideas for a video. First one, finally crack open these PebeOHYEAH and we take a test on those. And the second is I do something a little bit more extensive. Might actually be better to wait until, I don't know, you got something else going on. Need a couple days off. I have 3 bargain basement bin level oil paint, and I would like to pit them against each other to see which one is the best deal. So maybe you'll see that one next week. Maybe you'll see the Aqua Duo, probably the Aqua Duo. But that's all it for me this week. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all bright and early, 7 p.m. my time, next Saturday. Bye-bye.